Good moaning. Good moaning. Who fancies a good moan this morning? I do. What are you pointing at? Oh, my Zach. My Zach from the Green Party.
I thought you'd feel at home with him on the screen.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about him, the Green Party. And Mark, are you going to be making a bit of an announcement?
I've already made that announcement.
Oh, you'll have to announce it again with me there.
What?
I don't know. Are we thinking of the same announcement?
Oh, no, I'm not announcing that. Not yet. Well, because we don't know. I've got to get in.
No, that you will. It's all right.
Yeah.
I'll write him a note, but then we haven't got a pen or paper. So
anyway, let's get rid of him.
We love him.
Morning, everyone. Welcome, Nads. Nice to have you back.
Yes, I've missed you guys. It's been a loose women heavy week this week.
Whilst you've been gone, an interstellar object has got closer.
Yes, stop talking to me about the bloody interstellar object. Why are you not doing a separate video on that? People want to know about it, but I'm not one of the people.
Okay.
Because I've got enough on my plate.
Would you like me to do a separate piece on the interstellar object?
Yes, they've been saying yes.
I did, yeah, but I did do it in quite a bit of detail this week. Thank you, Carol Beach, talking about my toolbox. That was the home time that Nadia posted a clip from, I think, last night.
Very funny.
Very funny. It's a big toolbox. A bigly toolbox without a tool.
Yeah, it's sad seeing Chi-Chi, isn't it? Yeah. If anybody is new to the channel here,
yes.
What everybody's talking about here is we have a show, our family reality show, and there was an episode of it last night. And there we stay well away from politics. It's sort of fun, family, nonsense, DIY. Marriage arguments.
I think the point is that DIY doesn't happen.
Yeah, so exactly.
Love your jumper,
exactly.
says Lorraine Jordan.
Thank you, Vinted.
Welcome, Christos. Hope you're well.
Morning, Christos. Morning, Natasha. How are you doing, my darlings?
Tanya, I've got shingles, not feeling great. Oh, no.
Oh, God, look at that.
Hutchie Boy says, I heard that the interstellar object contains life. Don't jump the gun. Don't jump the gun, because Nadia doesn't want to be frightened. Why do you? Okay, look, just before we get going, it's Friday, so we're allowed to kind of go off script before we tell you what we're going to repeat.
I just did want to say something about shingles, because I've had shingles and it's bloody horrible.
Oh.
And homeopathy, contact a homeopath, go to the Royal Homeopathic Society and look for somebody in your area. Look for somebody that's had at least 20 years experience. That's what I always say to anyone, because one of Dina's friends had it recently, and Dina really helped her with the homeopathy, because there isn't anything that doctors can give you. There's nothing. Right. They just say put talcum powder on it. When I had it years ago when I was 17, I turned up at the doctor's and I said, I've either got syphilis or leprosy, because I'd never seen anything like it.
We've gone down. Sorry, I must have not been paying attention. I know someone said they might have shingles. We've gone
might have. Oh,
right?
Sorry, I thought you said you've got it.
Or did you say you did have?
I was so horrified by the look of it. That's what I thought.
You had what?
Either shingles or
syphilis.
Syphilis.
If you've seen the new film Frankenstein, has Christoph Waltz as a character in it. He has syphilis.
Oh.
Apparently you end your days screaming.
Yes, it's horrible. But anyway, so the doctor just burst out laughing. He went, well, he didn't burst out. He was very sweet. He just went, wow, that sounds extremely serious. I think we better have a look. And I sort of ashamedly.
Pause. How do you do that with your labia?
Mark! My mum's watching.
Well,
apologise to Betty now. What if my dad's watching? He's 91.
Your dad won't have his hearing aid in.
Yeah, that's true.
He'll have thought I said
no,
Nadia.
No,
because it rhymes with labia.
Stop. So the doctor said, well, we better have a look. And I, with great shame, showed him, it's on my thigh, my inner thigh. And he just went straight away, shingles. And I went, what's that? Is that absolute agony? I can't do it. And he said, talcum powder and paracetamol.
And did it work?
Was it
shingles?
For ages, and I had to wait for it. But once you've had it, you're always susceptible to it. So you can be around somebody with chickenpox and you can get shingles.
Right.
And as you get older, it can get really serious. So it's horrible.
Okay, Christ almighty, we're 5 minutes in. We haven't stopped about shingles. Christos, great idea, music for that. MeTube says Mark and Nadia don't do DIY. DIY happens to them.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Gratitude for our health, says Gabrielle.
Exactly.
Okay, what are we talking about, Nads, today?
Can you do it? Because I need to clean my glasses.
Can we trust Trump saying he's going to stop the West Bank annexation? Trots off the tongue, doesn't it? Is the Labour Party finished? We're going to make that sexy because really that's about Nadia's big fat crush on the Green Party. On the Green Party.
It's more long-term than
antidepressant warnings, well, med warnings from a doctor who says, you know, you've got to keep things being checked. And there's side effects. They can be...
Hang on. This is a huge report over a study that's brought many other studies together. And it's the study of the first 8 to 12 weeks on antidepressants and the side effects. So we thought we'd broaden that out a little bit with side effects and with medication and the difficulties of weighing that up. And maybe for all of us to be more vigilant about side effects, because you can just trot along for a long time on medications and not realize the side effects. I
mean, exactly. We'll talk about that, because if I think of the number of older people in our lives that when they've had a slight adjustment on their prescribed drugs, they suddenly feel sensational.
Sometimes my dad, sometimes when some drugs have had to be changed or swapped, just unbelievable. So it is important, isn't it, to just keep your eye on it and not let... Anyway, we're going to talk more about that in a bit.
But let's talk about the West Bank, because in a minute I'm going to give... Nadia is my wingwoman today. I've missed her. But I just want to use this comment to trigger it. Alison Barber says, Trump probably thinks it's an actual bank, the West Bank.
You know what, Alison, can you believe that in this day and age, one could even ponder on that? But,
okay, so
if you're new to the
channel,
channel, please, guys, could you just hit the subscribe button and the notification bell? Really helps get these videos out. And it's really important that we continue to put out the news about what is going on in Palestine. Obviously, the news agenda will lessen even, everywhere, but we are not going to just desert Palestine now. We have been, full throttle for the whole 2 years, and we want to keep on supporting and highlighting what's going on out there. I want to do a whole video on the absolute horror story of the Palestinian hostages. You will not believe just how bad it is for them in these torture prisons. It's the kind of, it's almost, what can I liken it to? When you go to those medieval museums of what's done to people, it's almost like that. The stories that are coming out. Yeah, it's a horror story, and we must shine a light on it, because there are people literally, including children, though any innocent person deserves the same respect of their human life and their freedom as a child. But hundreds and hundreds of children in these prisons as well, and it's a horror story. So.
But that's not what we're talking about today. No, but that is something that really deserves real attention and focus. But in terms of the West Bank, what is the West Bank? The West Bank is theoretically part of the Palestinian state. It's a piece of land between Jordan and Israel. And then there's another bit of land called the Gaza Strip, which is separated by land in the middle, which is Israel. So you have the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. Those are the two viable pieces of land that when Starmer says his symbolic thing, we recognize a Palestinian state, theoretically, it will be the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. The Gaza Strip held elections back in 2006. Hamas won the election, and Hamas have had control of the Gaza Strip since then. The West Bank is run by the Palestinian Authority. And we've talked a lot here about the fact that the genocide we've witnessed for the last 2 years has been supremely focused on Gaza. But in the West Bank, there has been a slow and constant, not just in the last 2 years, but a slow and constant over the last 70 odd years, erosion and occupation and settling of the West Bank area. Now, the West Bank arguably is a more difficult piece of land for the Israelis to kind of take in a more obvious fashion, because when you've got Hamas as a reason to invade, attack, and was it mow the lawn and forever keep going into Gaza, they can keep using Hamas as the reason to go hard in Gaza. In the West Bank, they have to go a bit more stealthily because they haven't got the most obvious of kind of enemies there, because Hamas doesn't run it. But Israel would claim that there is Hamas.
And I realise a lot of people don't understand, because it's not really spoken about, that Gaza, that they are, as Mark said, the elected government. So everybody could be called Hamas, because if you're, you would work in the government buildings, like agricultural minister, as a perfect example of the little boy in the BBC documentary, his father was Hamas, but it's the government run. So it's very confusing for people, but actually it is quite simple at the same time. But the West Bank is not. You can't say, the Israelis can't say, they do say it, they say Hamas is everywhere, but they can't say it in the same way that they do about Gaza.
And the settlements, there are approximately 700,000 Israeli settlers who have settlements in the West Bank. We've shown clips, you may have seen clips of rabid, violent, aggressive settlers hurling Palestinians out of their homes, killing Palestinians, pulling up their trees. With the support of
the army. And don't forget, they are illegal, both internationally. We say this every time because it's so important. These are illegal settlements, still in the law, in Israeli law.
A lot of them are.
I mean, it's a joke because they're just spouting up everywhere, and Smotrich and the like are very happy and applauding it.
And as someone just mentioned there, the West Bank, because it's the West Bank of the Jordan River, and really the West Bank is, symbolically, in many ways, the West Bank for some of the kind of Arab nations surrounding Israel and Palestine and like Jordan and Egypt. The West Bank is even more symbolic in many ways, isn't it, to sort of the Arab world, insofar as a line in the sand really is there saying, if you occupy or if you fully annex the West Bank, this will completely disallow any kind of normalization of relationships between all the countries in the region and Israel. It's like it's a red line. I mean, we know those red lines always kind of seem to move, don't they?
And my family were in Jordan when the West Bank was taken in the 6-Day War in 66, I think. So there's a lot of emotions around the West. It's going to be very difficult for the Arab nations to stand by in the same way, is it, Mark? Or maybe not, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, and this is where we get to this topic really today. So the Gaza Strip, we are currently in a really odd situation where the mainstream media in this country it's gone quiet. It's gone incredibly quiet. But it takes a very quick look at Al Jazeera to see that an hour ago they were reporting that Israel is not only not letting up on military activity, it's still bombing, there's still artillery fire, so the ceasefire isn't in place. Humanitarian aid still isn't going in the way that it was agreed in the ceasefire. So, it just doesn't make a big news story if the occasional drone hits at the occasional person or shoots the occasional bit. It's kind of like I'm not saying this is what it is for me, but in global news and in terms of the history of this crisis, this is just the kind of everyday kind of settlement of a ceasefire.
It made big news when people were found with their hands tied behind their backs in mass graves. Didn't make big news when time and again hospitals were razed to the ground. Didn't make big news when newborn babies starved to death. So the ceasefire hasn't.
The ceasefire hasn't been enacted in the way that, the absolute sort of Hiroshima-style demolition has stopped. But let me give you a reason for that. I was saying this earlier in the week, Neds. There's actually very little else to destroy. Unless you start bombing what you've bombed, you do reach a point where actually there's virtually nothing else to knock down. I mean, what do you do with a building site where everything's gone? You kind of can't pretend that you're knocking things down because there's nothing to knock down. There's maybe still people to go for, but then you're just bombing camps, you're bombing tents, you're bombing, all this kind of stuff. So the Gaza Strip is now in the process of this incredibly dubious Riviera plan. A whole bunch of wealthy, white, Jared Kushner-esque Western men are deciding the fate of the Palestinians in Gaza.
Well, even in this yesterday in Times Magazine, Trump did an article, didn't he? And they talked again about making Gaza the vacation of, a desirable vacation spot.
And we talked earlier this week also in that interview with 60 Minutes where Witkoff and Jared Kushner let it slip that these have been the plans. They've been planning this for 2 years.
Jared Kushner's face was
he looked like he'd been caught out, didn't he?
He was like, oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
So yesterday, on Coffee Morning yesterday, I talked about the fact that in the Knesset, in the Knesset, the Israeli government, parliament, they voted, it was the first of 4 required votes to essentially symbolically annex the West Bank. And I think I even said yesterday, it was in the news yesterday, Marco Rubio quite quickly said that this is not a good move and it's threatening the Gaza deal. So what I thought we'd do is just unpack what people's agendas are here, because the mood music coming out of America and the response coming out of America to this symbolic or not symbolic vote to annex the West Bank, which we know has been a mainstay of the Israeli Zionist settler regime's mission. More and more settlements are increasing. The Louis Theroux documentary showed that. The biggest donor to Trump's White House is a woman who's demanded the annexation of the West Bank. So the fact that Rubio said this is a threat to the Gaza deal, the fact that Trump has suggested this isn't US policy, but also I just want to play you JD Vance on the tarmac, his response. Now, if you listen to what JD Vance is about to say and just treat it honorably and honestly for what he's saying, there's something nice to be taken from this. You get almost a smidgen of what it would be like if JD Vance and Trump were on your side. But I just want to then us all to think and ask whether we can trust what he's saying. So I'm just going to...
It's very out there, though.
Very out there. So this was Vance's response to hearing of this vote. It's not a vote to do it. They need 3 more votes. But a hearing of this vote, this was his response.
What we thought was...
Yesterday that took place while you were in the country.
Oh, yeah, that was weird. That was weird. I was sort of confused by that. Now, I actually asked somebody about it, and they told me that it was a symbolic vote, some symbolic vote to recognize or a symbolic vote to annex the West Bank. I mean, what I would say to that is when I asked about it, somebody told me that it was a political stunt, that it had no practical significance. It was purely symbolic. I mean, look, if it was a political stunt, it was a very stupid political stunt, and I personally take some insult to it. The West Bank is not going to be annexed by Israel. The policy of the Trump administration is that the West Bank will not be annexed by Israel. That will continue to be our policy. And if people want to take symbolic votes, they can do that. But we certainly weren't happy about it.
Do you know what? There's so much to unpack with this. But also what's in there is the absolute admission that America starts or stops this war whenever it wants
to.
So when they're standing there going, we've brought peace to the Middle East, and this is what has happened. You know, that's the shocking. I'll get it. You know, you pick up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point that Nadia makes. I mean, what he reveals there is their total and absolutely unequivocal control of the narrative here. You know, it's like, we don't agree with that. It's not happening. They can say it when they need to say it. And just for that moment that he said that, did anyone else feel? I'm not suggesting that's the intent. I'm not suggesting that's actually what's behind this. But wasn't there a moment where you went, oh, my God, hang on. Someone's actually saying he doesn't agree with, doesn't like, and he's actually saying something that's coherent. We're going to unpack how trustworthy that is, which is why in the title we've got, can we trust Trump stopping the West Bank annexation? But then one starts to sort of sit with this. And okay, he said that. He said it quite firmly. He said it quite boldly. But then you start to think to yourself, for example, the interview in Time magazine that Trump's given, Rubio saying this complicates the Gaza deal. We don't agree. I think Rubio said somewhere, we don't agree with the annexation of the West Bank, or Trump said it in his Time interview. We don't agree with the West Bank for now. So who feels this is a definitive, that this is going to be America's policy on not annexing the West Bank? To annex is basically to take control, to kind of almost build an extension, to almost take a country and make it part of your own country. So who thinks that it's a for now statement? Although JD Vance does say it there, like it's a permanent policy for the Americans. Does anyone feel that there's anything to be trusted here whatsoever? Oh, you're right. Let's have a look. How many Israelis are from the USA? It's quite a large, well, and a huge number of the settlers are from the USA as well. You know, this kind of biblical claim to the land is often declared by people from Texas and Colorado and New Jersey and Brooklyn and places like that. Nothing to be trusted. For a second, Hutchie Boy 5 says, I was just saying how refreshing. If you sit with trusting it for a minute, it's like manna from heaven.
Yeah. Have you told them the quote from Trump?
Yeah. For now.
we went through this, just looked at it, oh well, so Trump is backing it up as well. My name is on this with the Arab countries. Now, let's not forget, he and his family are making huge amounts of money from the Gulf and from these countries. And so it is feasible that he would come down on Israel for this, because this could affect his own gold coming into his own account. But then Marco Rubio, in another statement, said, for now. And I thought, because we were drilling into it, where can we see? He says,
we can be supportive. I think the president's made clear that's not something we can be supportive of
right now.
So I think what's behind this is they don't want to endanger the biggest real estate deal happening in the Gaza Strip. It's not about the welfare of the Palestinians.
Oh God.
It's not about, it's not about.
They don't exist.
Yeah.
Do the Palestinians have the right to exist, Mark?
Sorry?
Do the Palestinians have the right to exist?
For me.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm being
It was
facetious.
so rhetorical, I don't know whether it's actually...
facetious. The answer is always no from any of this lot.
And so a new phrase has crept into the vernacular in this managing of Israel. Do you know what it is?
No.
It's called babysitting.
Right.
So look, Trump says, I will visit Gaza, calls respect for president most important factor in peace deal. Netanyahu orders halt to West Bank annexation after US criticism. Israel would lose all support from the US if it annexes West Bank, Trump warns. babysitting. US heavy hitters are taking turns to supervise the Israeli prime minister. Sit with that.
Watching their money that they're going to make with the Arab countries as they create the vacation on one side and whatever they need from the other side. You know, the West Bank is very rich in olives, agriculturally, it's very rich, the West Bank. You know, there's money, so much money to be made outside. There's a lot of oil, so poor Palestinians.
Let me put it another way. You don't need a symbolic vote or 4 votes for the annexation of the West Bank to go ahead. It's already happening.
Well, this is what I wanted to move on to, right?
So it is symbolic because it doesn't mean diddly doo-doo anyway.
We have seen the rounding up of men, women, and children, night after night, being taken off into the torture camps. About 10,000 people, they say, and the numbers are difficult, might even be more. They're put into these detention centres, prisons, whatever. Their lives are totally ruled by the Israelis. I mean, it's a different kind of hell on earth, but it's a kind of hell on earth, isn't it?
Yeah,
so I suppose we feel that so much of it is already done, the annexation. It's just the...
Yeah. Well, when we talked about the E1 building complex and everything like that, I think so here's the thing, and this is where you start to unpack and realize, oh my God, no, we're desperate for fucking humanity and warmth from these people. JD Vance standing there saying that, oh my God, the words sound like nectar from heaven.
It's just about money.
And then you pause and you think, oh, hang on a minute. He's another emissary going out there too. And I can't believe they've used this phrase. This is a phrase being trotted around. And if you think of our analogy over the last 2 years, which has been that the Israeli regime, and I call it a regime now, not a government, the Israeli regime is like a rabid, out of control toddler rampaging that's never been put on the naughty step and never held to account. And now they're actually using the phrase babysitting.
But if we actually say Trump's bank account sitting, that's what's going on.
So what they're all worried about, and the reason you can't trust Trump stopping the West Bank annexation, is that the annexation has virtually happened. So this ain't going to stop it. So that can carry on going on. So America and everyone who's kind of interested in Greater Israel can just go, well, we can keep saying it mustn't happen because Netanyahu hasn't even voted for this law. Because Netanyahu knows it's just happening. They don't need to look like they're voting for it because it just.
But also, and then Netanyahu can say to America, "Look, it's not me.
Yes,
it's like I'm totally sticking to everything."
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a video later in Hebrew telling the absolute truth because he's so stupid. He thinks there's no way that anything can be translated from Hebrew, which is what he did before, just after the peace deal, if you remember. Peace deal.
But just exactly.
Piss off deal.
More like. But just to add insult to injury, here's just a moment from Smotrich, one of the illegal settlers in the West Bank, who's a member of the Israeli regime, being racist about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is one of the countries that has basically said, we will normalize relationships with Israel if they recognize, Israel recognizes a Palestinian state. You'll have to read the subtitles. I can't do it because he's speaking in Hebrew. Here you go.
אם סעודיה אומרת לנו נורמליזציה בתמורה למדינה פלסטינית, חברים, לא תודה, תמשיכו לרכב על גמלים על החול במדבר בסעודיה, אנחנו נמשיך להתפתח באמת עם כלכלה.
So he's just said you can continue riding. If you think we're going to normalize anything, you can continue riding camels in the desert.
Can you imagine? Imagine if you said anything that was in any way a slur
on Judaism or Jews.
I mean, we are accused, the rest of the world is accused on a daily basis of every single thing being, everything that is anti these people and the government, people like him that say these dreadful things. We're accused, all of us, of being anti-Semitic.
I know.
But yet these can go out all the time, these awful, awful things. I mean, I hate to go back to the football fans, Maccabi football fans, but, you know, we're in this surreal world where they can say things like FC UK and we're going to rape you and that's not anything. It's
quite astonishing. And also, I just want to say something else, which
riding your camels, you're insane.
I just want to say something else that crops up an awful lot. And this is this is the point that Lisa Nandy made in the House of Commons when she was telling Zara Sultana that Zara Sultana was being anti-Semitic. The idea that you conflate the awful behavior of the Israeli government with every Jewish person. Now, unless you're an idiot, no one is actually doing that because, you know,
that is anti-Semitic.
That is anti-Semitic. But here's the thing that I do want to talk about. I would like to ask many people who are very outspoken in terms of their support of the Israeli regime and their support of Gaza, or if maybe not even in support of the Israeli government, don't say much or anything about what's happened to the Palestinians. Why do people who support Israel or perhaps haven't said anything about what's happened to the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, why do you not call out these people who say these awful things? Do you know what I mean? I think it's like one should be calling out all unfairnesses. And I think to not call out this sort of language, that doesn't implicate everyone, but it does kind of demand a kind of some kind of attention. You can't have leaders of the Israeli government declaring directly and specifically racist comments, because if something similar were done vice versa, rightly so, it would be called out by everyone. Keep riding camels in the... I mean, Saudi Arabia, man. I mean, it's just like, what?
No, not worth it.
So there you go. It's just so hypocritical.
Right. So are we moving on? That's everything there. Is it with West Bank? No, I was just wondering, was there something else? So
I had a couple of clips of other bits and bobs, but yeah, no, let's move on.
But please, again, please subscribe. Help these videos get out that are still, not just ours. We always say this, you know, right across the board, that these stories aren't getting spoken about at all on Western media, not in any detail anyway. So it's always skewed a certain way.
Absolutely. So moving on, let's talk about, is the Labour Party finished? This is obviously the news that last night Plaid Cymru. Any Welsh people in the room? I know we have lots of Welsh followers. Plaid Cymru have won. Reform were massively second, but the big news in a sense is that Labour were dwindling in third yet again. And this is, we're not going to get into polls. We're not going to get into kind of fucking,
feelings.
Just feelings. And the feeling, who feels, and I want to ask this, who feels that the Labour Party is finished? They're hemorrhaging people to reform. And the Green Party, I think it's a moment to pop up old lovely, there he is. Oh, Zach Polanski, leader of the Green Party. Sorry, what were you saying?
Does anyone know where the Lib Dems are? Good question, actually, because they do always get terribly forgotten, don't they? The Lib Dems, and they've got a fair number of seats.
They have, but I've got a funny feeling, or a weird feeling, that I think the Lib Dems might be squeezed out of the next election, because I think there are just bolder, more decisive choices. Like, I'm
trying to remember what Zach said about the Lib Dems. I can't remember now, but I remember agreeing with it. It's sort of the bits and pieces of everything.
And the reason I say this is that I think that everyone has lost interest in politics. And if I had one good thing to say about...
Is that true? Has everyone? Or is it that people are actually now drilling in more? I mean, my sister Dina, I know she's watching, I would never in a million years have said she would have got engaged in politics.
No,
she has been.
Yeah, sorry, I should have rephrased that. What I meant was, I think people have lost faith or interest in old-fashioned party
the way
politics.
it was sold them.
So, I mean, if you look at the Conservative Party now, and I feel it whenever I hear any Labour Party, when you hear Labour Party politicians or Conservative politicians speak on any subject now, I feel like we're back in the 80s. Yeah. Now, you feel you get to no truth. There's no honesty. They can't really say anything. It's all a bit blah, blah, blah. It's all bits of the same stuff. It's all, I mean, even Rachel Reeves with her incoming budget, it's like slice a bit there to do a bit of this, and then they'll come in and slice a bit of that to do a bit of that. Nothing feels meaningful or like it's going to change anything.
Yeah, we had
the old part.
And we are looking for crumbs, aren't we, with the politicians that we have got in power at the moment. I mean, yesterday we had West Streeting on Loose Women, and it was interesting because actually I quite like him. It's the second time I've met him. I actually quite like him. He seems very down to earth.
He's been more outspoken about Gaza, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, even that, I couldn't say that to him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I would have liked to have had a chat with him back, but I know that would be, there's a microphone, something might be said about Gaza. He would be very nervous about me probably saying that. But yeah, like at one point you said, well, you know me, I always slag off the last government. And I thought, you know what? You didn't think about that sentence before you said it. And I like that. I like that. I want my politicians to risk making a mistake because it's the way to break down this whole atmosphere that we all live in now, that if we just say the wrong thing in the wrong way, we're going to be finished. And we need to see that in a way, our politicians do that to such a degree, trying to swerve the cancellation, swerve the cancellation. Absolutely. Now, obviously, when you're not in power, it's much easier to talk in a free way. I get that. And, you know, as I said to you, I've watched quite a few podcasts recently with Zach from the Green Party, and he does talk very honestly. And can
I just interrupt you just on that? And I think one of the things I have liked in a couple of interviews I've seen him give, he's more than happy to embrace apparent contradictions in things, you know, so
that's intelligent.
Well, exactly. But also he's not afraid to say, well, yes, if that happens, this, but if this happens, that. Whereas, you know, every other old-fashioned Labour and Conservative has to have a strict rule, and it's that or it's the highway, and it just feels inflexible.
Yeah. And, you know, my worry is, and that's why I'm watching very closely, is will his PR people get hold of him and say, look, be careful, because there was loads of those headlines about this. And then, but it doesn't matter. There was loads of headlines about him being a hypnotherapist and this and that. They'll pass. They will pass. Don't watch everything you say. Don't get to the point where you're watching everything you say in case a headline that you don't want takes over. We know this from showbiz. Eventually they will shut up and go away. They're all digging for something nasty. And the press are wrong because, for instance, at the moment, the way they're digging around for something with that, it's like, you are missing the fucking point. We are not interested. I want to know where somebody's going. Not what where they might have come from. And I got moments of that yesterday with Wes, but then he did this thing where he would like answer like big long answers. You could
of no specificity whatsoever.
Yes. And you think, that's such a shame because actually we have got 9 minutes with you, and I did like him. And I would have liked to have just got a bit more about you.
An alumni of Mandelson, some are saying, what he's doing to NHS doctors who support Palestine is unforgivable. He's not got many fans, Wes Streeting. I have to say, I found him intolerable in the past. I liked a couple of things that he said about Gaza. I think he stuck his neck out a bit relative to being in the cabinet.
We're talking about when he said things like, how dare the Israeli government do what they do, and they need to, it was something about when they were being, I can't remember the details.
Some really good comments coming through, and I just don't want to lose them just quickly. No, we're just more awake to the system, says Rebs. Mamdani, we played a clip yesterday. Mamdani is a New York mayoral candidate. He's showing the way. Own your position confidently. I like that because I think that chimes with what you're saying.
Yeah, just stay with it, Zach. Stay with it. Don't let the people whisper in your ears and make you watch everything and answer a question just to eat up the time.
I'll tell you something else he also said, which actually led me to join the Green Party. I mean, we both voted for them at the last election. The thing that made me join the Green Party was when he said in an interview, I forget where, he's done so many now, which is great because he wasn't really being given access. to the mainstream media. But when he said, look, you can join the Green Party, you can be part of our movement, and we don't have to agree on every single policy.
Exactly.
My sense of things is if you agree on 8 out of 12, then we're probably more aligned and aligned enough to be able to work together. I do worry, and my worry is this, and it came true, unfortunately, with Zara Sultana and Corbyn's Your Party, which I got so excited about.
Yeah.
My concern, and partly my concern was because they were both hangovers from the Labour Party, was, is this project going to get bogged down in not just party politics, but the infrastructure required to run a party? And my hope is that the Green Party, as it gets bigger, and as soon as anything gets bigger, you become, careful what you wish for in terms of success. The structures need to be more regimented. You need to have, for example, just because you have 140,000 members of the Green Party now, that's great. But they still have to vet and make sure everyone's trustworthy. They have to make sure everyone's on board to a degree. So certain kind of rules have to be brought in and systems. And when the systems come in, that's when it all starts to become insincere and potentially inauthentic. And I think the thing at the moment that Zach's really on a roll with is just he turns up, he opens his mouth and he talks from the heart, and from his heart, it's true to what that party kind of believes.
I just find him really authentic. He's got a party. He's done all sorts of jobs. Loads of different jobs. I like that. I like that. And I like the way he speaks authentically. He's obviously very smart. He's like you can see when people try and wind him up, he keeps his cool and he stays calm. And when people are shouting at him, he doesn't say, let me be clear, let me be crystal clear. All these things that we are sick and tired of with politicians. And when I said, by the way, just to clear this up with West Streeting, you can like certain things about a person. I quite liked him as a person, the moments that I had, I thought, oh yeah, there's things I like about it. But there are a million things that I find absolutely disgusting as well within that he stands by and that so again, we mustn't always think we can only be one thing. It's where I think the world's going wrong. Like actually, Zach, in a lot of the interviews, he talks about, I like that person, but I've worked with them, but. You don't have to hate the people that you might disagree with. That's what I would say.
I do think what comes with the keys of power, though, and what comes with running a country and everything that you need to be to run a country, is that you have to, in a sense, as Ross Souch says, become robotic and inhuman. And I'm beginning to ask questions of politics now, like, is it just a precondition to working within the system we've got, that you've got to park to the side that authenticity, that immediacy of feeling and thought and emotion?
But that's what we've been led to believe. And if there is a big shift, if there is something to come out of the horror story of the last few years, and the horror story that we're witnessing in America, and the potential horror story coming this way with the hate that's being whipped up and the division, then we have to believe that things can change. That's what if we just don't believe it, if we just think, well, we're just going to be swallowed up by fakery and lies and deceit and darkness and money grabbing, the wealth distribution in the world is just shocking. It's just terrible. Yeah. And they have so much power, these people, that we are more likely to sit back and go, well, what can we do? That's why when I'm seeing hope, I want to see hope. I want to see pinholes, and I want to help make those pinholes wider. And I really believe that we can do that. But it takes us all just having some gumption and belief.
There's quite a few comments coming up about what authenticity is. I think someone said, he seems authentic, Zach, but that it will be thought out how he's approaching things. To a degree, insofar as when you sit down,
it's a business.
you're going to be prepared for, well, what's my answer going to be to that, and what's my answer going to be to this. But when he speaks, I don't feel he's tiptoeing through the carefulness and the sort of censorship and the limitations of what he could and should and shouldn't. I mean, the amount of times you hear politicians just not answer anything or speak to any truth of anything about anything. But the other thing I do want to say, I do think this authenticity thing is a tricky thing, because I think Farage's appeal and Reform's appeal is one of authenticity, a perception of authenticity. Because whilst he is what he kind of presents, there's no two ways about it. he's selling so many people a pup. You only have to
talking
look
about
at
at the moment?
Farage. You only have to look at any idea that simply says every problem in this country virtually is a result of migration. You know he's selling a pup. It's like in a row. No one person is responsible for everything. And you can't, with all the will in the world, make out that migration and the migrant population is the sole cause of every problem in this country. And I don't actually think anyone who gets on board with that truly believes it themselves. They just want to go with it because it's easy. And it allows them to access resentment, emotion, fury, anger. Sort of a sense of unfairness and injustice.
That's why it's so disgusting, the manipulation of that, and people's frustrations and unhappiness with their lives and their feeling of being left behind, to just manipulate people like that. It's just evil.
YouTube says Polanski is playing Farage's game, but for good.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, apart from if you were kind of reform, you would probably not think it was for good.
But what do you think? Because the question here is, do we think that the Labour Party is, I mean, the amount of people that have been coming up to me over the last few days wanting to talk about the Green Party, saying, do you think, I feel like there's a bit of hope. Lots of young people engaged.
I think the Labour Party's finished.
Our kids have joined the Green Party. They've got their friends to join the Green Party. When you have kids around the house, we've got lots of young people in and out, and they're like watching clips of Zach. You think, fuck, they've not been engaged in politics at all because they don't feel like anyone's speaking to them.
My personal opinion is I think the Labour Party is absolutely finished.
So do
I in a way that I don't even necessarily think the Conservatives are completely finished.
What is
the Conservatives are clinging on to a less radical, older population that eventually, it's a tragic, awful thing to say, will die. So I think the Conservative benchmark, the heart sort of, what's it called?
Heartland?
The heartland of the Conservative Party are people like my nan and granddad. But of course, the inevitability with those people is my nan and granddad are already dead, and a lot of those people are dying. Reform does a Conservative thing, but appeals across the ages and allows you to indulge in a bit more. I'm fucking pissed off. I'm a bit angrier. It's everyone else's fault. Any illusion of
many more of
conservatism
those drunken marches and that sort of violence for your nan and granddad, that age group, it's going to turn them off.
Well, yeah, but they'll stick with Conservatives. So that's why I think there's still, because we're a Conservative in essence country. The problem, I think, is really Labour have sought to, and I've said this many times before, I know me and MeTube have disagreed on this. I said 2 years ago when they got in, I said the danger for Labour is if you go chasing what you think the public wants, you end up not being anything. You end up being destroyed by 1,000 cuts because you're trying to please all the people all the time, and you can't. And I think what the Green Party are doing, and in a sense what your party, Corbyn and Sultana, were trying to do, and Reform do, is unapologetically, this is what we represent, and you either come to us and we convince you of what we believe, or you don't. The Labour Party has tried to be everything to everyone.
Skipping, hopping.
And I personally think genuinely Reform and Greens, weirdly, will hoover up all that Labour support.
I do.
All of it.
This is interesting. I spent 3 hours on TikTok live last night with other mostly Gen Z people talking about PMQs.
Prime Minister's questions, murder, she wrote 371.
I think people are more engaged than
well, here's the thing,
have
but let me
been
explain,
in a long time.
But I'll explain why. I think people are more engaged because they're seeing people, unfortunately, like Farage, but fortunately like Polanski, and they think, oh, and politics can speak for us.
And seeing Keir Starmer, like yesterday, I had lots of different conversations with people. I actually thought Keir Starmer was a good person till he became Prime Minister. God, how we all fell for Keir Starmer. Oh my God, because we were coming out of a long stretch of so many lies and horror stories from the Tories that, of course, we were going to leap onto that without maybe enough. I think
the reason Keir Starmer is not cross-eyed, but the reason Keir Starmer looks completely vacant behind the eyes is he knows he's lost and he knows he can't say or do or be anything of any meaning. It's so game over for the Labour Party. It's personally, I think it's entirely game over.
Are most people saying that?
I hear you. In my 66 years, says Sister Jane, on the Living on the Planet, I've never seen voting change anything for the people. Never.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think people have had enough. And I genuinely think that, and I am going to say this, I think Reform and Green are both good for people feeling they can actually turn to politics for something. I'm not for a minute suggesting what reform want to do is good, but I think there's been in a weird way, you could argue that without the success of reform, really, people might not have thought there could be success for the Green Party.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's
no, I think that's true.
You know, I think people thought, oh, hang on, you can change the political establishment.
It's not just down to these two juggernauts.
Yeah. Yeah. Jill Dyer says the Labour Party are being reactive, not proactive. Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I think for me, I mean, there's been so much that I've hated about Labour since they've come in, but this day in, day out of restricting our right to speak up, to protest, to have opinion, I'm finding it very, very scary. I'm in shock. I'm actually in shock that a Labour Party would do this. And as you were saying earlier this morning, we were chatting, weren't you? What was an article that you were reading? You were saying,
George Monbiot,
the way that the Labour Party came about could not happen now with the restrictions that the Labour Party are putting in place.
Yeah, the Labour Party is denying the preconditions to the Labour Party existing.
Yeah.
In terms of how it originated.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question for everyone to answer. Marat's Bathwater says the Maccabi fans debacle was final straw for me. Okay.
Because it was so stupid. It was like saying you're all stupid. We can see the videos.
It was so transparently, obviously they were out of fucking touch, or they were complicit, or they were
weren't
out of their
touch.
mind.
They knew exactly what it was, and they just stood there and barefaced lied us.
Okay, so for anyone here who has supported Labour or has ever considered, what has been your final straw? Just try and put it in a sort of short sentence. I want to know what everyone's final straw was with Labour, because my final straw was absolutely the Gaza genocide and their total complicitness in the Israeli Zionist
and they're
regime.
fake every so often coming out saying this cannot be tolerated and then doing nothing. Appalling excuse as to why they had to keep arming Israel. All that nonsense about the pieces for the F-35s.
Here they come.
I mean, really, how many weeks was he in when he said that you have the right to turn off the water? But from that moment when he said that, I thought, oh, you're not human. If you can turn off water from other human beings, if you think that's okay.
ST Burker says, when they kicked out Corbyn, I stopped voting Labour. I wish I had. I got caught up in that whole I left because of Corbyn's attitude to Brexit. But yes, you're right. I mean, most people here are saying Gaza. Musical Chimp is saying Blair. 46
Blair,
Leon, 46 Blair.
God, when you look into all
economy,
that.
Me Too. Gaza. I haven't voted since Iraq. I was Labour. So again, what you're saying, Lady Speedwell, is Blair, really, aren't you?
Well, don't worry. He's going into Gaza now to look after it.
Yeah.
After everything you did with
Tony
Iraq.
Blair had never voted for them because of the weapons of mass destruction. I mean, people just really, it's like, talk about selective amnesia. It was a dodgy dossier of lies. And we're expected to just go, oh, well, no, push
and
on.
all those deaths and all the carnage since.
Wow, Blair was the final straw for so many people here. Matty Parker, Jacqueline C, 106.
Corrupt, so corrupt, multi, all his family, In my opinion, he seems to be very corrupt.
Claire Bella, 51, just the spineless grey nature of Keir.
Paddington Bear stare.
Yeah, Blair. Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Well, it's a conversation that will continue.
I just want to play you just before we'll have a funny before we then go on to the final topic, which is the potential side effects and warnings around antidepressants. But this is dogs in New York have come out for Halloween already. Check this out.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. Isn't that lovely?
New York dogs, eh?
That's lovely.
Yeah. Okay, so this is BBC doctor. This is a headline. BBC doctor warns anyone taking amitriptyline. Oh my God, that's what my mum takes. Nortriptyline, sertraline, or fluoxetine.
Well, that's a bit of a dodgy headline because actually the BBC doctor was breaking down this report, which was...
He sounded the alarm over a number of widely taken antidepressants, which are used by 8 million people in the UK. New research release shows that people taking certain antidepressants can put on 2 kilograms of weight in the first 2 months, while patients taking other drugs can expect to lose 2.5 kilograms. Academics set out to rank antidepressants based on a number of known side effects linked to the drugs in the first 8 weeks starting treatment. They examined data, it's a big survey on 59,000 people. Dr. Kazim Ahmed said, if you're one of the 8 million people in the country that uses an antidepressant, the important thing that needs to be mentioned here is that these medications have been given for a reason, and that reason is because of a mood disorder of some kind, whether that's depression, anxiety, or bipolar affective disorder. The researchers found that the most noticeable differences in weight change, heart rate, and blood pressure, those are the areas that you need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and and you know, as he says, the important thing is, first of all, like you know, he says doctors weigh up side effects and the benefits of a medication, but and the thing is, you know, raised blood pressure, some of these antidepressants, you can lose weight actually, but something you can put on weight. And it's always, and they don't really talk much there about the effect on sex drive and all that. And I always think, I mean, I've been lucky that I don't suffer from depression, but I always think when I see all of this about these side effects, I think none of those would help depression.
Well, no,
it's like putting on weight, not wanting sex.
Well,
like
some of the antipsychotics that are diagnosed for, I have bipolar and prescribed for bipolar, the side effects will make you gain a lot of weight. It will remove
not everyone.
Not everyone, but some of the side effects can lead to weight gain, can lead to a loss of sexual kind of interest or performance. And it's like I said to you at the time, I said, what are they trying to do? Are they trying to make me stay depressed? This is madness.
Well, no, but I mean, a lot of people, I mean, I've got a number of friends that say they literally could not cope without their antidepressants, and it's really just changed their life. And of course, it's just fantastic for so many people. A very good point there. Who was it there?
No, but by the way, we're not recommending any medical advice.
Oh God, no, we're just talking about side effects. Read the study actually.
For women?
No, the HRT. That's so true. So many women have been diagnosed antidepressants when they actually needed HRT. Right. And so if you're going in and you're of the age where you are, you know, where you could be, what's it called, perimenopausal or menopausal, and you're suffering from symptoms that you don't feel are like depression. You get, because honestly, I've got 2 friends that the doctor was insistent that what they needed was antidepressants, and they were like, I'm not depressed. My libido's gone out the window. I'm exhausted. I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, and they just wanted to give them antidepressants. And as a, you know, as a one of the menopause specialists that I've spoken to over the years said, it's a real problem with that, handing them out. Because if you don't need antidepressants, can you imagine with the side effects and you don't need them? So do push back. We all get a bit of fear, don't we, with the doctor? And also the other thing is, you know, go back to your doctor. Like we were saying earlier, my dad has had all sorts of shifts on medications that he's had. And it's like, oh my God, that one that he was having for this, now he's off it. Oh, he feels so much better. So I think the thing is, don't just put up with something. I know it's hard to get appointments and all of that, but it is worth talking to your doctor. And sometimes you might be on the wrong one. And it's not necessarily that your doctor's done a terrible thing, but like that doctor said in that interview, you know, everybody is so different and responds to medications in such a different way. Can
I also make just throw another thought in, as someone with quite, you know, definitively diagnosed mental health conditions. I mean, I chose not to use antipsychotics. Someone just said, Murder, She Wrote, just said that antipsychotics are known for weight gain, and they also increase blood sugars to the point of being able to develop diabetes too. One of the things that I would say is that I'm very lucky. As a family, I have a very tolerant family. And I have, you know, with the help of a doctor, kind of managed, reduced, and come off many types of medications. And sometimes when I'm entering, say, a bipolar dip or I'm going through a zone, the family is very responsive to that, or kind of acknowledging of that. They'll sense it, they'll see it, they'll allow it, you know, and that's really, you know, I'm very lucky with that, and not everyone has that luxury. But I would like to say that it's not like you replace medication with lifestyle choices. But I do think we dangerously live in a society and in a system that is forever encouraging us all to get as well as possible to suit ourselves functioning within the established system as it needs us to be. And that means, get yourself back to work, all this kind of stuff. I need to improve my mood quicker. And sometimes it doesn't require the biggest things. This isn't a suggestion to come off any meds at all, but this is alongside asking the right questions, challenging the doctors on what other options there are. I just wish there was more education and more advice on the simplicity of physical changes, physical activity, nature, diet. I mean, Nadia talks about this at great length,
and when somebody is diagnosed with something, therapy, like you say, not just a pill. Now, it's very difficult to get therapy, waiting lists are long, but do they say things like, really try and work on an exercise plan that helps you think about nutrition, get out in the early morning sun, all these things, these dopamine boosters, all of these other stuff. Same with ADHD medication. ADHD medication is great in some ways, but it has a whole list of things that are also not good and not great. And And it is really about weighing up the side effects properly, isn't it? With your doctor, and don't be afraid to have the bloody conversation.
Leslie, homeopath, just saying also, please try homeopathy. Complementary.
Well, I'm
therapy.
a huge fan of homeopathy. Hi, Leslie. I am a huge fan of homeopathy, and our daughters and have had homeopathy since birth. I started at 20. Mark started when he met me, and people don't really get just how brilliant it can be. I'm always wary of saying too much on here because you can too easily get accused of God knows what. But find out for yourselves, guys. Find out. Have a read up about it. It's an amazing, powerful, natural way to help heal yourself and a whole
absolutely, and I would vouch for it. I mean, Zoe says, totally agree with my PMDD. All they throw at me is sertraline. I've upped my dose recently, but a good diet is more important. And exercise.
Well, it's probably as. Also, think about some holistic stuff, Zoe. Homeopathy or acupuncture. These things, because people sometimes will just try, say, homeopathy, and they'll go into a health shop and they'll go, "Oh, I've got this. Can I have a remedy?" It is way more complex than that. You spend a good hour with a good homeopath. Your first appointment is an hour and a half, and they go into every detail about yourself. Just taking something off the shelf and saying homeopathy doesn't work isn't right. It's.
I just want to. We have a consumer-based approach to our own health, and that is the problem. I think it's a consumer-based approach. So even in homeopathy, you'll go into Boots and you'll see a little homeopathy tray. It's like, you're right. People are going in. What do I do for a headache? Oh, take this. Oh, hang on. Doctors, as Yasmin Salim says, sadly, doctors don't have the time to go into detail with short appointments. And I'm not going to go. I don't want to break privacy here, but I can think of someone in our lives who they went to a conventional, formal medical doctor. They weren't proposing alternative therapies or anything like that. But what this person gave this person we know was time and an all-encompassing amount of time to understand their whole physicality, their mentality, and their emotions. That is holistic. That's not wacky, backy, weird shit in the woods wandering around in fungus.
Person. Think of it, holistic has become a word that's like, oh God, you're just like in slopping around in sandals. The whole picture, mind, body, spirit. Like, for instance, somebody was saying to me the other day at work, Nadia, do you know anything I can do for this? Like, I've got this dermatitis and I've done this cream and they're saying steroids and da-da-da. And I said, are you really stressed at the moment? Because I see that, I'm really, actually, this does come up when I'm stressed.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's mind and body. Yeah. I know that my eczema, Mark as well, goes a bit crazy when we're like not looking after ourselves, and where we know that, say for instance, the most basic terms, you're stressed, you get a headache. You would say, oh God, I'm so stressed at the moment, I've got a headache.
You don't sleep enough to get.
Why don't we think about that with everything? Now, I mean, a number of my friends have been diagnosed with breast cancer. They have actually been asked by their doctors, have you had any big traumas? Has there been which is huge, that they're asking. That's a big shift, I think, now that doctors are asking things like that. Mind, body.
Murder, she wrote, look, holistic acknowledges the body exists in a context of the world around us rather than just being a sack of meat.
I love that. Leslie Homeopath, did you see that?
I love that. It's so true. And also the other thing about all these things about, physicality, movement, exercise, right nutrition, what's the common thing or theme with all of those. It doesn't make loads of fucking shed loads of money for corporations, for companies. I mean, yes, you're right, Mithu. Talking therapy sat alongside some medications is crucial and critical, and therapy can be very helpful. But again, it's as good as the therapist you've got, and it costs money. And even when you're getting medication from the so-called free NHS, it's the NHS is buying this stuff from someone's making money. So, you know, it's the monetary aspect of all of it forces us into taking quite I think and I'm really coming to this, I am 6 years younger than Nad, so forgive me for only arriving at this now. But, you know, we treat our bodies appallingly, and we don't give ourselves the time, space or care that we need in order to kind of feel better or get better.
Somebody's reminded me there what I always say, dis-ease in yourself can cause disease. And I know it. I can literally I can feel myself making myself feel. I don't look after myself in the way that I say to everybody else. I think a lot of people are like that, but I know how to. I know what should do. Do you know what's so funny? At the end of the day, for instance, when I'm actually doing a video later on my home birth, but at the end of the day, very difficult first birth, much easier second home birth, very empowering home birth. And we know what the massive difference was. Breath, the way that I fucking breathe. And it's like with our girls, you know, when they get anxious and stuff, and I'm always saying, just try and incorporate somewhere in your life, just like deep breathing, right? And they laugh and I go, but at some point you're going to get there. Probably you'll be late to it, like me, 40s, 50s, 60s, but eventually you get there, you know, like,
or 71.
If you think about like when you're in pain and somebody goes to you, right, breathe. That, and people go, because they don't know how to breathe. But actually there's a lot of power in breath, but everyone goes, oh, bloody breathing, oh, I hate breathing, it's boring, I can't do breathing.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But within our system we have this incredibly powerful network of thingamajigs that go on and can soothe, can heal.
So funny you should say that. Can't do breathing, it's boring. But if you're breathing now, so why not make it better? And
homeopathy triggers your own immune system to help you. Again, I'm just saying, nobody come off your medication. We are not doctors. We're talking about symptoms. We're talking generally about health. We're talking about that understanding and feeling strong enough to ask more questions. Take the time. Your doctor isn't going to pick you up and throw you out the door. If he hasn't answered your question, just try really hard. So I'm really sorry. I'm still not quite sure. They can be really intimidating, but do it. Do it because it's for you and you deserve it.
Absolutely. And I feel for doctors, it's a little bit like I always feel for teachers who want to teach more holistically and have open reach with their teaching. I'm sure doctors must sit there going, I'd like to be able to spend a bit more time with the patient and understand them. You know, it's like the weird thing about it is you understanding your subject in journalism, documentary and filmmaking and in all walks of life. If you're making food, what do you like? What do you eat? But when it comes to health, it's like, what's the quickest fix? It seems like we're only interested in the quickest fix with this astonishing thing here. We've got a final funny. Do you want me to play your lovely doctor? Talking of doctors, he's a doctor, isn't he?
Oh God, this guy! Watch this. These kids having their injection with it. He's got loads of videos. No child ever cries. It's fantastic. Watch it.
मैंने हर लम्हा जिसे चाहा जिसे पूजा उसने यारो मेरा दिल तोड़ा 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 छोड़ा हरी 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 आया करो करे हमें रोज बुलाया करो पम 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 कभी मेरे घर आया करो चंदा 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 रे चंदा रे नहीं 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 bye bye Chandaus.
I want him to do me. That's how he just. I would be like that. I mean,
it's but like, there's loads of videos with him doing that.
I know, but
And there's just one
when I
little
go
girl
to the
that goes like
doctor,
that. She just touches her leg but keeps looking.
I want my doctor to kiss my stomach and distract me and throw sweets in front of me.
Oh,
I'll do
lovely
anything.
that you can just kiss the baby and kiss its little leg. Can you imagine if a doctor did that here? I could be struck off.
Yeah, absolutely. Mind you, maybe they should here. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. I love that clip.
I love his energy is nuts.
So shall we end on the up?
Yeah.
Ending on the
Let's
up.
end on the up.
All right. my fellas.
Please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And in the members area tonight, there is the Halloween night. Dina's making some smoking
cook-along.
cocktails. It's not a cook-along tonight.
It's a watch-along.
It's watch-along. And I'm making, well, this is what I'll give you a clue. It was the mash. It was the monster mash.
Fantastic. And we are actually talking about
Mark's
being
gotta
really,
do something as well.
really old-fashioned. And the No Name Sunday show could well be happening on Sunday.
This Sunday.
So there you go. All right, guys, lots of love. Have a good day and see you later.